That night, the house felt smaller than it ever had. Rain hammered the roof, wind made the windows tremble, and the dog lifted his head at every crack as if he knew something was wrong. The cat, perched on the back of the couch, stared at the front door with eyes too wide to blink. And then came a sound that didn't belong to anything in that room. A tiny, trembling cry, almost swallowed by the storm, right at the entrance. For a second, nobody moved. It was the kind of silence where you can hear your own heartbeat. The mother held her breath. The father looked at their daughter as if to ask, "Did you hear that?" Without saying a word. The dog let out a short whine, restless, tail thumping the floor. The cat slid down from the couch, slow, as if he were stepping onto glass. The father walked to the door carefully, not turning on the porch light right away. He placed his hand on the handle and, before opening it, he heard it again, weak, shaky, like something small was asking permission to exist. When he opened the door, wind threw rain inside for a split second, and there, on the wet doormat, was a panda cub. It was so unreal it felt like a dream. The cub was curled into itself, trembling, muddy. Its fur clumped from the rain. Its eyes were big and heavy, and it breathed fast, as if every breath was a climb. It didn't look aggressive. It didn't look wild in that moment. It looked lost. The girl stepped forward without thinking, but her mother caught her arm. "Slowly," she whispered. The father crouched and, with the calmest voice he could invent, spoke as if he were talking to a human baby. "It's okay. It's okay. You're safe now." The cub made a tiny sound and lowered its head to the mat, exhausted. The dog, a big, sweet mixed breed, tried to approach all at once, tail wagging, curiosity spilling out of him. The mother made a quick, firm gesture and pointed to the corner of the room. "Sit!" The dog, trembling with excitement, obeyed. The cat, on the other hand, didn't obey anyone, but that night he seemed to understand. He stayed at a safe distance, body low, whiskers forward, studying every breath the cub took. The mother grabbed her phone, hands shaking. We can't keep him," she said, trying to stay rational. "That's a wild animal." The father nodded, still crouched. "I know. We're only going to protect him from the cold until someone gets here." And then he said the sentence that changed the entire night. "Call now! Rescue center, rangers, whoever, call!" She dialed and explained quickly, barely believing her own words. On the other end, a steady voice told her to stay calm. Don't feed the wrong food. Keep the cub warm but not overheated. Reduce noise and bright lights. Most of all, don't turn this into a cute moment. This was an emergency, and the cub needed safety and quiet. They did what they could with what they had.
Easy now, I've got
The father closed the door and
I'll
laid a
block the
thick
draft.
towel on the floor beside the
Good.
mat.
Keep it steady.
Carefully,
There.
he slid the
should
towel
help.
like a makeshift stretcher without lifting the cub directly. The mother brought a light blanket, soft, warm, and draped it like a tent, not pressing down, just blocking the cold air seeping through the cracks. The girl's eyes filled with tears. "He's scared," she whispered. Her mother answered softly, "We are too, but we'll stay calm for him." Little by little, the cub stopped shaking so violently. It didn't play. It didn't do anything cinematic. It just breathed. It just stayed there, as if the floor of that house was the first solid thing it had found all night. When the first wave of panic passed, curiosity arrived, and that's where the real pull of this story began. Because the cub didn't try to run. It looked around slowly, as if recording this strange new world. The scent of food, the ticking clock on the wall, the creak of the couch, the shadows of the curtains. The cat was the first to move closer, with that quiet bravery only cats seem to have. He walked straight up to the edge of the blanket tent, stopped a few inches away, and sniffed the air. The panda cub lifted its nose and sniffed back. No growl, no sudden fear, just a timid recognition that another living creature was there, equally curious. The dog, in the corner, couldn't take it. He lay down, chin on his paws, eyes shining as if he'd witnessed a miracle. The girl asked, "Can I sit closer?" Her mother replied, "You can, but stay quiet and don't touch." The girl sat on the floor a safe distance away, hugging her knees, and stayed there, simply watching. Sometimes that's the purest kind of care, presence without intrusion. After a while, the father noticed the cub trying to crawl toward something softer, not for affection, but by instinct. Cold seeks warmth, exhaustion seeks support. The father slowly pushed a pillow closer, like he was negotiating with something made of glass. The cub rested its head on the pillow and made a faint sound, almost a sigh. The mother adjusted the blanket without closing it in, and the living room, once just a modest room, became a shelter. Rain kept falling outside, but inside, everything had changed. They decided to keep the cub in the living room. No bedrooms, no tour of the house. The goal was simple: safety and minimal stress. Still, the domestic scenes began happening, and they were impossible to look away from. The cub, still dazed, stood up shakily and placed its front paws on the couch, as if trying to understand that mountain of fabric. The dog lifted his head immediately, thrilled and worried at the same time, but the mother made a firm shh, and he stayed. The cub managed to climb with an awkward little push and lay belly down on the couch, breathing. It was absurd. A panda baby inside an ordinary home, stretched out on a couch like it had chosen that place all its life. The cat took the moment like he owned the scene. He jumped onto the couch, kept a respectful distance, and sat down. The cub turned its head, curious, and leaned in with its nose. The cat, dignified, as if he'd seen everything, simply blinked slowly. That slow blink of trust cats give when they decide you're not a threat. And the cub, as if it understood the language, softened and rolled slightly to its side. The girl covered her mouth so she wouldn't squeal. "Mom?" The mother didn't answer right away. She just watched, eyes shining, as if something inside her had gone soft. The father, who always claimed he didn't like drama, quietly wiped the corner of his eye with his thumb. No one said it was beautiful. Speaking loudly felt like breaking the spell. The dog did what dogs do when they want to join without disrupting. He brought a toy, an old, chewed-up toy, and he set it on the floor near the couch, gently, as if he were saying, "If you stay, I'll share." The cub looked down, confused. Then, without climbing down, it stretched a paw in the air, just testing the space. The dog's tail wagged so hard his whole body swayed, but he didn't rush forward. He waited, like he was learning respect. The night became a series of small domestic frames, always supervised and quiet. The cub dozing on the couch for minutes at a time, waking with a start when thunder cracked, and the girl whispering, "It's okay, it's okay." The cat curling up 2 feet away, not touching, but staying close like a silent guardian. The dog lying on the mat, still as stone, guarding the door and the cub at the same time. At one point, the cub slipped off the couch and fell onto the blanket below. Not a hard fall, but enough to scare it into a tiny cry. The family's hearts jumped. The mother crouched carefully, not lifting the cub, only adjusting the blanket to make a firmer nest. The father called the rescue team again to confirm they were doing the right thing. The voice on the other end repeated, "You're helping. Just stay calm." The girl asked, almost like a secret, "Is he going to stay with us?" The answer came honest, without romanticizing. "No, sweetheart. He needs to go back to his life. Our part is just tonight." The girl swallowed hard, but nodded. Deep down, she understood something many adults take years to learn. Love also means letting go. The rain eased a little, and the house grew even quieter. And in that quiet, the cub did something that stayed with them forever. It walked slowly over to the dog's bed, a simple little bed in the corner of the living room, and, as if searching for the safest place on earth, climbed in and lay down. The dog lifted his head, shocked, and looked at his people like he was asking, "Am I allowed?" The mother held her breath. The father made a tiny gesture, like, "Stay." The dog lay back down very slowly on the floor beside it, not invading, not touching, just guarding. And then came the moment no one would forget. The cub, curled in the dog's bed, released a long, deep sigh, the kind of sigh that only happens when a body believes it might survive. Hours later, with the lights dim and everyone exhausted, there was a knock at the door. The rescue team had arrived. They didn't rush in, didn't make noise. They entered with respect, spoke softly, watched before moving, and they praised the family for keeping the environment calm. The mother pressed her hand to her chest as the professionals approached the cub. The girl began to cry. Silent, no drama. The father placed a hand on her shoulder. The cat watched from the couch, unmoving, as if judging the competence of every motion. The dog followed everything with his eyes, faithful and sad, but he didn't interfere. The cub was placed gently into a warmed carrier, proper, safe, comfortable. Before leaving, it looked back, not like a human farewell, but like a small animal storing the lights, scents, and voices that had meant shelter. The girl took a step forward, but her mother held her again. "No touching," she reminded, voice breaking. The girl simply lifted her hand in the air, like a wave that didn't make contact. When the door closed, the house felt strangely empty. The couch seemed too big. The floor felt too cold. The dog walked to his bed and sniffed, as if searching for the warmth of that small body. The cat climbed back onto the top of the couch and stared at the door for a long time, like he expected the impossible visitor to return. And that's when the human turning point happened. The one you almost can't see, but you can feel. This family, who had been living in separate corners of the same home, stayed together in the living room without knowing where to go. The father said softly, "We stayed together all night." The mother answered, "We remembered how." The girl wiped her face and whispered, "He rescued us too." And no one disagreed, because for a few hours, they weren't just a family, they were a shelter. The next day, the rescue team sent a short message. The cub was warm, stabilized, and responding well to care. There was still a road ahead, it was still early, but there was hope. And in that house, hope now had a sound, the tiny cry that arrived in the middle of the storm, and made the living room more human. If this story touched you, if it made you feel tenderness, or remember how compassion can change an entire room, subscribe to the channel. And tell me in the comments, which scene stayed with you most? The panda on the couch, in the dog's bed, or the cat watching everything like he was the rescue boss? This story was recreated with AI. No real animal was harmed, used, or put at risk.